What's up, everybody? We had quite a day today. A lot of big moments happened in the trial. The state rested their case. We had Darrell Brooks's opening statement, not opening argument, opening statement, and we had him call his first couple of witnesses, do some direct examination, and of course, we had some major arguments with the judge, and it didn't fall short of the fireworks we've had in the past. So we're all here. We're all here to talk about it. I scanned some of the comments before I jumped on, and so many of you were quoting and commenting on the exact clips we're going to look at today. One of the things we will look at is his opening statement. We will watch it in its entirety today. But I want to start out, as we usually do. So much is learned and understood when the jury is outside the presence of the courtroom, especially in a case like this where the judge has to do so much explaining to Darrell Brooks onto how the process works, what's the purpose of the process. So we are going to do that. And we're going to go through and discuss the witnesses, recap them, what the importance was, things like that. But to me, some of the most important stuff comes when the jury's not there. Hold on one second. So before we get to what happened in court today, let's talk about something the state did to start the day. Oh, before we get there, you're right. Everybody is reminding me, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Melanie is right. We're going to see, can we hit 7K watching tonight? Because we almost hit it last night, and we are not going to be doing a live recap tomorrow night, as sad as that sounds. But we're going to have a Saturday special, a Saturday night special where we're going to recap the whole week, talk about the case, recap Friday. My trial I was supposed to go to next week got continued, so I'm going on a little golf trip. So forgive me for not being on tomorrow night. I'll be on Twitter. Maybe I'll do some like Instagram lives or something at Tragos Law talking about what happened tomorrow. So don't worry about that. You'll still get some of my insight. And I think that it'll be a fun kind of different way to interact. And so it won't be totally lost. And Rob from Law and Lumber told me that he's going to do Darrell Brooks breakdown and reaction on his Friday night video that he does every Friday night at, I can't remember if it's 8 o'clock or 8:30. Let me see if I can find him here. So yeah, he said, somebody's got to know in the chat. Right here he is. He didn't tell me the time, but okay, 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Eastern, Rob from Law and Lumber. Hit that up tomorrow. He invited me on. I am going to go on another night. I'm not going to be able to go on tomorrow because I'll be gone on my golf trip. Okay, let's get to it, all right? We've been here 4 minutes already. You know how I don't like to just waste time in the beginning. Let's get to it. Let's talk about what happened today. One of the most annoying things that happens in these cases is that the state attorney does have so much power to steamroll defendants, whether they're represented or not. And one of those things that's very frustrating to me, I get it. You know, a lot of people feel like they're on the side of the prosecutor, the DA, they're getting justice. We've got to make Darrell Brooks pay for what he did. I get it. And I want justice. Whatever justice may be, I want it. Okay. And it doesn't look the same in every case. But what is so frustrating is that the state attorney's office can change the words of an indictment literally right before closing their case in chief. After all of their evidence is out, they've called all of their witnesses. It is so frustrating that they are just allowed to change the verbiage in the information or the indictment, the charging document. That is just fundamentally unfair to me. And they say, oh, well, as long as it doesn't prejudice the defendant, we should be allowed to do that. That's what the case law says. Well, why would you need to change the verbiage in the information if it wasn't prejudicial to the defendant? If it didn't really matter and it was no big deal, why do you need to change the verbiage? It has happened to my dad and I in a case before where they literally changed the dates as on or about dates after we had done all the discovery to prove that this did not happen on the dates that they charged in the information. And they just changed the dates. And we weren't allowed to go redepose everybody, not to mention how much money it would have spent. It's very frustrating when that happens. Very, very frustrating. And here, they made a change from at the park to near the park. And that may be a difference. Did it actually happen at the park? That's the problem. And we can't have a situation where they're just changing words. If it was a spelling error, then fine. I could understand a spelling error. I can understand, if they want to correct the spelling or somebody's name was misspelled or whatever. But that's not what this was. At the park and near the park mean two totally different things. So, that's frustrating to me that they're able to do that. And it's understandable for Darrell Brooks to be annoyed and frustrated that they are allowed to do that. So, when we get to the second part, what has the state actually proven in the case, right? Because they have now rested. We know they recalled the detective, but what did they actually prove? Because we know he's facing 75, 76, 77 counts, ranging from battery to bail jumping to hit and run involving death to reckless endangerment, use of a dangerous weapon, and then the 6 big ones, the first-degree intentional homicide charges. So what has the state actually proven? And this is just one man's opinion. I want you to let me know in the chat and in the comments, what do you think the state has proven? I think they have absolutely proven, without a doubt, this man sitting at the defense table, his name is Darrell Brooks. I think they have absolutely proven that this man was in that red Ford Escape and that he was the only driver driving that car through the parade, that there were no issues with that car, brakes, gears, or otherwise, and that his action of driving that car through the parade caused the death to 6 people and injuries to 60 plus other people. That has all been proven beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion. Now, he still has his chance to put on evidence, so I'm not going to give a verdict yet, but I think the state has held their burden there. However, have they proven intent? Have they proven that he intended to kill people with his actions? So, and again, let me know in the comments in the chat what you guys think. They don't have to prove motive, right? We don't have to understand why he did what he did, because he was mad at his girlfriend, so he wanted to go drive a car through people or whatever, or because he didn't like music, so he drove through a band, or he didn't like, whatever it may be, the Catholic Church, so he drove it through the Catholic Church marching through the parade, right? They have not proven that. They didn't give us any indication as to why. People are saying you had to know the outcome when you were going to do that. Okay. I don't disagree with you. You had to know the outcome. Reckless disregard for the safety of human life. All of that has absolutely been proven. Recklessness. We get that. Okay. Sorry. So, yes, they've absolutely proved recklessness. No doubt about that. And he's being charged with reckless endangering of safety and use of a deadly weapon. So my question is, I don't know if they have the lesser includeds in Wisconsin, so that if they charge him with first-degree intentional homicide, but a lower level homicide would be reckless homicide. I absolutely agree that they have proven reckless homicide, that he had total disregard for the safety or lives of anybody else. He was going to do what he was going to do, regardless of whether or not people were going to die. But I really have a hard time finding intent to kill. And I see no motive at this point. There may be a motive, but I don't see one proven in court. That's what I think the state has proven thus far. So let's get to what we heard today. Why Detective Casey again? Another good argument by Darrell Brooks. Why didn't you ask him all this the first time? And we're going to get to the rap video. We're going to get to all that and how Darrell Brooks, once again, because he's not a skilled lawyer, stepped in it. So why bring this detective again? I think it was a little unfair. I think they should have asked him all this the first time. Nothing new came out that he would have to be called a second time. But it's not legally improper. So I guess it's okay. They had the arguments and the judge allows it, and that's fine. And it could have been pretty simple and straight and just show him the picture from that rap video. But Darrell Brooks didn't know better. Any lawyer would have known that if you ask questions and you try to make it seem like that's not you in the video, then they can dig deeper to prove it is in fact you. And that's exactly what happened when they eventually play the video, which is incredibly embarrassing, damning, proof that it's him, showing that he's a liar and trying to kind of trick the jury. The jury's going to feel tricked. It's one thing for criminal defense attorneys to make the state prove their case. You're never going to hear me complain about that. But when you're basically asking questions, you know the answers are not what you're inferring the answers are. I don't think a jury appreciates that. Now, you can tell me if I'm wrong, because you all know you're much more likely to be jurors than I am. He knew what that video was and continued to ask those questions as if it wasn't him because we could only see the back of his head next to the red Ford Escape. His cross-examination of this witness was a bunch of nonsense. It was so long. It was disjointed. I don't think he made any points worth discussing. I don't think he poked any holes or created any reasonable doubt or anything to that effect at all. And the video was so embarrassing. And right before the break is when the DA had enough. They had enough. And we're going to hear the DA go off on Darrell Brooks and tell us what she thinks about how the judge has handled this case, which I don't think she has thought the judge has done that well. If you guys want to see the video, I can play the part of the video that was shown in court if I can find it. If you guys have the timestamp, let me know. I don't have a timestamp because I'm not going to play the video with the lyrics, but I don't have the timestamp for when they played it without the lyrics in court. But what I do have the timestamp of is our first argument of the day, or our first major argument of the day. And it comes right after that video is played, where he's obviously embarrassed. He's very angry. And so let's hear how this spark is started. And while we play the videos, as always, we'll put some new members up, which is awesome. We've got a members only chat coming up next week. So we appreciate all the new members. Oh, I've been told to do this. Let me know if you guys like this view better. I've been told to do this. But I'm going to put up some new members. I'm going to put up some funny comments or posts that you guys have done. I will save the questions for a little later. I'll probably answer some questions after I play this video clip, which we will get to now.
Objection. Assumes facts, not evidence.
Sustained. As to the form of the question.
This is my Bible. This is my Bible. Can you clarify again why you viewed the video this morning?
Objection has been answered.
Sustained.
So you're going to sustain everything?
It was already answered, sir. Next question, please.
And I'm asking for clarification.
Next question, please.
I don't got no more questions, man.
All right. Thank you.
This is my Bible.
Because you may step down, I'll excuse the jury.
What people are trying to do is not fair.
That's
I
music to our ears.
Don't tell them all the information.
Mr. Brooks, I'm going to take up all of your objections outside the presence of the jury. I ask that you honor my decision to do that, and you show courtesy and decorum.
Because you asked.
Mr. Brooks, please.
Because you asked. That's the only reason, because you asked. I see what you people are trying to do. It's not right. It's not fair and it's not right.
You can have a seat.
Because you asked, right? Because you asked. He kept saying that as if he makes the rules, which he continues to think that he does. And at least part of it, it is on 1.5 speed. It is on 1.5 speed, everybody, 1.5. We're going to keep it on there because it's the only way I can get in enough. The supersede's aggravating. Sorry. I want to get through as much of it as I possibly can. I don't have 3 hours. I have an hour. So we're going to get through as much as we possibly can. So sorry, but that's how we're going to do it here. So yeah, she asked him, and that's the only reason he's going to do it, which in his mind, he's making the rules. And that's part of the problem throughout this trial is the judge is making him think he makes some of these rules, which he just doesn't and shouldn't feel that way. And that's the frustrating part for the DA. And we're going to hear what she says about it. And be careful. She kind of blows out your eardrums here when she talks.
And let the state make a record. Stop
Are you
gesturing at
asking me to be
me.
quiet?
Stop rolling your eyes at me. Stop
I'm looking
mumbling.
right at you. I'm not rolling my eyes.
No, you
I'm
have
looking.
throughout. I've seen it,
I'm
and I
looking-
made note
I'm
of
looking
it.
at you. Okay, so are you asking me to be quiet or are you telling me to be quiet?
Go ahead, Attorney Opera.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll take that
And
as
just
asked.
to indicate, Your Honor, this court has been abundantly patient with Mr. Brooks. He challenges the court's authority repeatedly. This court absolutely has the ability to tell him, sit down and be quiet. And you haven't done that. And I know why you haven't done that, Your Honor, and we appreciate that. He is not in control of this courtroom. You are. And he needs to respect that. This video was relevant based on his questioning of Detective Casey, as you just indicated, challenging his ability to identify the person who had their back turned to the camera in the still shot of State's Exhibit 175. Trials are fluid. When he opened the door to that, we came up with a video which Detective Casey testified repeatedly on direct examination and cross-examination as to how he knew that was Mr. Brooks because he had seen the rest of the video. He would not accept that. He pushed it and pushed it and pushed it until we played the video. The lyrics of that video probably would have been prejudicial. Originally, I wasn't going to ask for volume. Then I did because he pushed it again, and his voice and his mannerism of speech, I thought would have assisted the jury in identifying Mr. Brooks as the person in the video.
In assisting the jury and realizing what a bad guy he is what she means, because the lyrics would have been overly prejudicial and never would have been admissible and should not have been admissible. The judge did the right thing keeping them out. Frankly, if any defense lawyer was there, this video would have never come in. But again, Darrell Brooks decided to represent himself.
With the red SUV. However, you smartly asked me to play it without the audio, and I did that, and then I never went back to that. This is all to the benefit of this defendant who continues to suggest and impugn the integrity of this court and this prosecution without basis. He doesn't like it because the evidence is stacking up and stacking up, and whenever it does, his response is to accuse you, the court, or the prosecutors of being unethical and hiding things. There is nothing in law that prevents me from pulling something out of my briefcase right now and making it an exhibit if it's relevant. You decide what's relevant, what's admissible, not Mr. Brooks. There is no law. He can cite to no law, no authority whatsoever that says I can't make an exhibit essentially on the fly if it's called for, and that's exactly what just happened here. So I apologize for my tone with the court. I don't mean to direct this at the court. It is very frustrating. The court has demonstrated much more patience than I have with Mr. Brooks because, again, I do not appreciate his impugning the integrity of these proceedings, of Your Honor's efforts to run a fair trial, and of our efforts to run a fair trial. We have ethical obligations as well to be fair in this courtroom. We have respected that entirely. The reason I was laughing 30 seconds ago was because the exhibit was mislabeled. There was an extra Y and it said Exhibit E, EXHIBITY. And I turned around to the paralegal and pointed that out, and we laughed over it, the word Exhibit E. That was it. There has been no disrespect directed at Mr. Brooks directly in any fashion. So he can object all he wants, and he has made that clear. He will continue to object and obstruct the court and obstruct these proceedings every last chance he gets. But legally, everything has been above board and proper, and this exhibit is no exception. I apologize for my tone, Judge.
Thank you. I appreciate that additional record.
She's basically like, Judge, I would be being much harder on Mr. Brooks than you are, but you're doing a good job. Doing a good job. Not going to step on the judge. And then the judge continues to talk a little bit about the video. We're going to jump ahead a little bit more to where we start to get into the judge and Mr. Brooks now going at it and who he thinks makes the rules in this courtroom. And finally, she lays down the law a little bit with him. No, I will tell you what to do.
I haven't made any of those observations.
I didn't
sir.
say you. I didn't say you, Your Honor.
No, what I've observed is
listen, please.
Go ahead.
For her to sit there and try to play it off as if she's not referencing to me, she must think I'm an idiot.
Nobody
That is
said
very
sir.
disrespectful to me. I haven't said anything about that until today. She's done it numerous times.
What are you talking about? I don't know
Her
what you're
laughing under her breath. Her trying to cover up the microphone so they can laugh and hee and key. That they've been doing that the whole time. I didn't say
Any specific
anything. I didn't say
instances, sir,
anything
because
about
I
it.
have not noticed that. What I notice are 3 attorneys who cover up the microphone so that they're not heard when they're conferring with each other about evidentiary issues or about testimony.
So why is it always laughing and giggling?
I haven't noticed that other than the one thing you pointed out.
Well, we have cameras. That's what the cameras are for.
Let's refocus our attention on what we're here for, and that's
Okay,
this trial.
I'll take
and
that
do you have anything
I
you
take
want to put
that
on
as,
the record?
I'm putting it on the record.
As it
No,
relates, you need to let me finish. As it relates to the video and my decision to admit
she
it.
just admitted that she just now came with the exhibit. It was not that she just said, she just made it an exhibit. It
That
was
doesn't
not
mean
an
it wasn't
exhibit before she
turned
made
over to
it
you.
one.
So do you have some legal basis, sir, for your position? Because I'm not
What do I
aware of
need
any.
legal basis for when she just admitted on the record that she just made this exhibit up
No,
right
she
now?
didn't. That is a complete mischaracterization. Sure, she did not.
That's what. So she wasn't
Create
implying that by saying that she
exhibit.
didn't
She did
pull
not make
anything
it up.
out of her suitcase.
So that's a figure of
You're-
speech.
Okay, so what is it
right?
implying to? What would that be implying to?
As
How would
attorney,
anyone-
all
how
right,
would
I'm
anyone in
moving
my
on
position-
because you're not
How
providing me
would-
with any
how would
legal
any-
basis
I didn't even
for
finish.
me
You
to.
told me that I can make the record. I'm intending to make the record.
Sir, as it relates to the video and my decision to admit it, do
I
you have
just said that.
anything-
You didn't even let me
You're
finish.
not letting me
You
finish.
didn't let me finish either, Your Honor.
Because you're not providing me.
But how do you know
you're
I wouldn't get to
providing
that if I didn't
commentary.
finish?
You're not providing me with anything from a legal basis for which I would consider changing my mind. So the state's withdrawn their request to play the audio.
Then why play the video at all then?
I've already made a ruling on that. You're questioning the ruling. You're not asking me to reconsider it based on any legal
There
basis.
shouldn't be a legal reconsideration of it.
Then you need to provide me with the legal basis for that, sir.
So I'm supposed to just come off that off the top of my head?
Yes,
That's ridiculous.
you're representing yourself. It's not ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. So I was supposed to already come in here this morning and say, oh, a video is going to be shown off the fly at the drop of a hat. Let me try to find some legal thing to get back. How am I
Mr.
supposed
Brooks,
to do that?
the bottom line is you open the door to
It
the
doesn't.
playing
It
of that
doesn't.
video.
We're not.
Sir, yes, actually. So yeah, when you decide to actually represent yourself, you do have to think on the fly, make legal arguments, make legal objections, represent yourself, come up with legal theories, act like a lawyer. That's what you have to do when you decide to represent yourself, which is a decision you made, waiving the rights to have somebody do that for you who's trained and understands how to do that for you, but you've continuously complained about it throughout the entirety of this trial. Jess W., yes, she had to at some point actually pull through on some of her threats.
We're not talking about
And the
opening
video
no
was
doors.
previously provided to you during
We're not
discovery.
talking about opening no doors. We're talking about being fair.
There's
Because
absolutely
if I
no
would have did
prejudice
that,
to
Your
you
Honor,
in
with all
terms
due
of
respect,
surprise.
with all due respect, if I had
Right.
done that,
I am going to move on.
if
from
I had
this
done
topic.
that, it would have been a
Mr.
big
Brooks, I'm
thing.
advising you.
Are you asking me?
I'm advising you, sir.
Oh, okay.
I'm advising you to sit down and
I don't
be
know what that
quiet.
means.
And if you interrupt me again, you are on notice that you will forfeit your right to be present
So
in
you're
this
holding me
trial.
content
Mr.
for the
Brooks,
entire trial? Did you say the entire trial?
I never said any
You
such
said
thing.
for the
He wishes, right? He wishes. You can tell that.
trial. So what do
Please,
you mean? I'm asking, what do you
Mr.
mean?
Brooks, you continue to
That is
come at
not, I don't
me.
consent to being called
You
that name.
continue to fight with me.
I'm
You
not
are
fighting
being
with you.
disrespectful.
I'm not fighting with you. I'm not.
I'm
But
going to give you
said I
one
would have
last
a chance to make the
opportunity to
record.
sit down and be quiet so I can make a
Are
finding
you
as it
asking
relates
me
to
to
other
do
things.
that? Are you asking
I
me
don't
to
need
do
to ask, I'm telling you. Thank you.
Do you see how he stopped? Is that amazing or what? Like that's like a psychological experiment because he's pushed, he's yelled. Nobody's gonna tell me what to do. I'm a grown man. All this stuff, right? Especially when she gives him a little bit. But when she finally says, "I'm not asking you, I'm telling you." Now he argues more later, but that was pretty amazing. Thank you, Sandy D, for checking in. Stephanie said, I missed the best part today. I don't know what the best part was. I think this is the end of this clip that I wanted to show, but let's watch just a little more to make sure.
There were two other issues that came up that I advised the parties I would take up outside the presence of the jury and give, if appropriate, Mr. Brooks the opportunity to ask further questions of Detective Casey. There was questioning by Mr. Brooks about possible testimony and why it had to do with it was in the context of him questioning Detective Casey about speaking with Dawn Woods, his mother, and about a time in August. And there was
All right. I think that was the end of that clip of what we were going to talk about tonight. We are up over 6K now, so we'll see if we can hit that 7 number. Tell your friends they want to come check it out and talk Darrell Brooks, because we're about to get to our first Q&A portion of the video. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen, Ms. Doolittle. They're trying to keep it out and do everything they can to keep it out. But let's get to some of these questions before we jump to after the lunch break, after the judge gives him a little law school spiel about how exhibits work, how openings work, because after lunch, we hear from Darrell Brooks himself. We see him as he wants us to see him in more ways than one. So let's answer some questions before we watch his opening statement together. The catch. His opening wasn't as bad as we all thought it would be, but imagine if, at the very least, he would have said, "I'm sorry." But no, but he did say some things that were very important, and we will get to those. Mo, please do a poll for who bought his tears. We will do that, hopefully. John is trying to start comments here while we are watching this opening together. We'll see if he's able to post that poll, but we're going to try to do it. What did DB forget to do today? I don't know. Dana, is he being charged with manslaughter or first-degree murder? He is being charged with first-degree intentional homicide. Now, in certain cases, all the lesser includeds are included in that. So it can be reckless homicide, it can be negligent homicide, manslaughter type of charges as well. I'm not sure how it's set up in this case or how they do it in Wisconsin. Here, they would be able to bring those lesser includeds as well. M&M, while the jury cannot seek additional info, can the defense or prosecution seek it? For example, can DB view this channel for insights? Slava Kirby. The prosecution can, and criminal defense lawyers that are private can. I don't think that Darrell Brooks would have access to this in prison. I don't think. Mo, I think they can't prove intent for the first person, but for number 2 through 60, it was very much intentional. And again, I think that's the difference of opinion. And a lot of you guys, some of you said yes intent, some of you said no intent. It does not seem, and maybe that's a poll we'll put up eventually as well, whether or not you think the state has proven intent, yes or no. That is a more interesting poll to me than whether or not you bought his tears. Linda LaFerrere, crazy day. Why didn't the prosecution cross DB's witness? Well, we're going to talk about that when we get to the witnesses, but the point is that's kind of a boss move, and it lets the jury know, ain't nothing wrong with that direct. That was all good for us, and I think that's how they felt. Max Sauce, hi. It felt like the judge was extra lenient with him today. I don't understand why she allows his antics to protect his rights. Or, yeah, it's definitely to protect his rights and to protect the appeal, but it has gone too far, in my opinion. It really has gone too far. Team YouTube, I feel like they purposely used a photo of his back to the camera, knowing he'd argue you can't tell it was him, and they'd be able to get the full video in. So whose fault is that? If they did something that on its own is admissible and they could have done it, and they thought he'd make a ruckus and open the door, and he did, whose fault is that? I say his. Cynthia Snodgrass. Is it me, or did the Kirby testimony seem useless? The way he spoke to the judge today was unacceptable, especially when he said, I don't tell you to stop talking. I was happy the state spoke up. It's a joke. It's like, dude, you didn't tell her to stop talking? That's like saying, I didn't tell the sun to rise today. You have no control over that, bud. You got no control over whether or not the judge speaks in her own courtroom. Come on. Mr. RN, DB has at least 4 different rap songs on YouTube. He sings about bloods. Will he be placed in Gen Pop or solitary if found guilty? What is the second felony case he has still got to face? I know he had, what were they? It was unlawful possession of a firearm by a felon and something else. I can't remember. They did mention the other felonies that he was bail jumping on in today's testimony. I can't remember what it is. Brad Walker, I don't have to ask you. I'm telling you. Silencio after that, Brad. Eleanor, at first I admired the judge's restraints and her intent, but he was on to her and then steamrolled her. I agree with the DA's comments today, and the judge stepped up a little bit more eventually, but I agree. Jay Goss, sorry in advance for a naive question. I'm new to watching trials. Do they have to prove intent for Brooks to be charged? If they don't prove intent, how does things change? Well, they have to prove intent for the first-degree intentional homicides. So they would have to prove intent for that, but not for all of the charges. A lot of this can be reckless or negligence, endangerment, known or should have known he was going to put people in danger, that sort of language. So they don't have to prove intent for everything, and he could be found to have no intent and still go to prison for the rest of his life, which I do expect to happen at the end. Dana, I watched the trial today and couldn't wait to hear your reactions, Peter. I think this rant by the DA was entirely for Darrell Brooks. Absolutely. She almost could have looked right at him. LB Messimer, when was the last you know of an attorney to be so argumentative with the court? Unbelievable. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Bobby Cat, hello, Peter and chat. Is there any way for the judge to take away his pro se rights at this point? It really wouldn't help. He doesn't want assistance of counsel, so to force it upon him would just create issues. Tammy, if previous bad acts were ruled to be excluded, how did they get in previous fingerprints, bail forms, release conditions, etc.? Because he actually has 2 bail jumping charges. So in order to prove those, they have to talk about the underlying charges he was charged with. The prior bad acts they're not getting into are that he hit his girlfriend with a car in the past. Hazam, the court stenographer must be so stressed here. Always thinking about other people, Hazam. But yes, people have been asking me, is the court stenographer getting all the things that they're saying under their breath? It's like, who knows? Heidi Wislang, today was painful to watch, especially with the last witness. Why aren't further limits enforced to hinder future defendants from creating a mockery of the court in this way? It has happened before, and it'll happen again when people represent themselves. This happens. We try to protect their rights. It's the best we can really do. We don't want to just gag people and steamroll them and have them go to prison for the rest of their life. If they really knowingly and intentionally waive their right to counsel, and this is the way they choose to do it, then they have the right to do that. Andrew, Peter, do you think he will study law while in prison? I think he should. I think he's got kind of a knack for it. I mean, he really understands a lot of it. I know a lot of you are like, I don't think he's smart at all. I understand. And I understand the vitriol people feel towards him. I understand a lot of people's lives were affected and ruined because of this guy. And he talks about that in his opening, which I'm stepping on a little bit here. I feel like we need to get to it, but I think that I don't think he's a dumb guy. I don't. Ashley King, is the stenographer catching all this? I doubt it. I doubt if she's catching all of it. Only 36 likes, K-Par. Are you gaslighting people here to try to get more likes? I'm here for it, I guess. It can't be only 36 likes with 6,400 people in here. I hope. That would hurt. No, it's okay. Hit the like button if you want to. If not, that's cool too. Do you think he'd act this way with a male judge, Cynthia? A lot of people have been asking that. I really don't know. He doesn't seem to respect any of the men in the room either. Yes, people are saying, I sent you a video of Kirby on Twitter. A couple other people said that. And I understand that you've sent it, and we will watch it together. It's only 2 minutes, so we can do that together as long as you're cool with 1.5 speed. I am Mac Mill. No intent to kill. Drive over 1. Whoops, sorry, stop the car, but continue to drive 60 more, killing 6. That's clear on the spot intention. And I'm Mac Mill. If you're one of the jurors and we're sitting around the table talking, you may be convincing me that there is intent there. And this is exactly what I would expect to happen to the jury when they start discussing intentional homicide. Tori, Peter, I sent you all the charges and years he is looking at for each. I took that right from his pro se video. She went over each with all the years. I sent it on Instagram about a week ago. Yes, I have read through these. Thank you, Tori, for sending it my way. And regardless of if the jury finds intent, he's probably going to prison for the rest of his life. Misty, how would you try to prove intent? Do you actually think it was intentional, or more he just didn't care? He hit people while intent on driving. If you want my honest opinion, if I was the prosecutor in this case, I would probably charge him with reckless homicide. And I think it's a slam dunk. It's a class B felony. And I think that would be a slam dunk conviction for him. It's just my honest opinion. But again, the public might be outraged at that. And I've had lawyers come and talk to me that represent victims that go to the state attorney's office and put pressure on the state attorneys to overcharge because of the victim's family and how it affected the community. And sometimes the state attorney does bend to that in different areas, right or wrong. Like a lot of you might agree with that, but that's a real thing that does happen because of how this really can affect communities. All right, without further ado, let's get to the opening statement. And if we didn't post the poll for if his tears were real or not, I apologize, but you can put real or fake in the comment section if you want to about his tears here. And I have my thoughts, which we'll get to in a few minutes, but let's jump past lunch and listen to his opening statement together.
not presented as evidence just has yet to be proven for the record.
The jury will disregard the incorrect statements of the law that Mr. Brooks is stating.
Where's lawful law that is incorrect?
Mr. Brooks, please. I am going to read one instruction. Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. The defendant will now make an opening statement. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the defendant an opportunity to tell you what he expects the evidence will show so that you will better understand the evidence as it is introduced during the trial. I must caution you, however, that the opening statements are not evidence. With that, go ahead, sir.
Obviously, I don't have any rehearsal where.
I guess we'll slow this down just so we can get the full effect of him, but nothing else. So don't ask.
Well-prepared speech, so I'm just going to speak from the heart. I would just like to first say that I want to bring to remembrance something I think everyone in this room has been taught pretty much as far back as we can remember, is that there's always two sides to every story.
And whether he meant to or not, okay? I'm looking at this like, because I've judged mock trial competitions. I did mock trial when I was in law school, and we put on, the Florida Justice Association puts on a mock trial every year, and it's actually November 12th and 13th coming up in Miami. If you're around, maybe you can come check out some of the law students. I will be in Miami November 12th and 13th, I think, if it's a Saturday and a Sunday. But we judge these mock trial competitions, and one of the things all the law schools teach is have a theme. And whether he meant to or not, and whether he had a prepared speech or not, he's got a theme, two sides to every story. Now, do we believe it? Does it work? Who knows? But he's got a theme.
And for so long now, roughly a year, there's only truly been one side told of this story. And I've sat back and watched from countless narratives that's been put out there, the way this incident has been portrayed at times, and finally everyone getting a chance to get the full story. You won't hear me try to argue facts. The fact is that this incident was tragic.
You won't hear me argue facts. Now, you could argue that's an admission that the facts in this case are correct as the state has portrayed them. If I'm the jury, I'm now thinking it's really only about one thing, and that's intent. He's almost admitting to me in my head to 61 of those charges, or 71, or whatever it is. Because if you're not disputing the facts and you agree it's tragic, and he continues on, which makes you think he did drive his car and resulted in injuring and killing a lot of people, it's not good for his case, and probably not something a defense attorney would ever agree to in their opening statement.
Very tragic. That's not lost on me. Facts are that there's still a lot of people healing, a lot of families healing on both sides. And when I'm confident that the evidence will show, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. When I'm confident.
Roshenda, this is kind of where I'm at.
That the evidence will show is that this incident was not planned. This incident was not intentional. And this incident was never even thought about. It's easy to I'm sorry. Just need a second. Think it's
I agree,
it's easy to
Adrian.
look at the magnitude of something like this, and
So the poll is up. John texted me. I'm not sure which poll it is, but the poll is up. So you can vote now. I think it's if the tears are real or not. It's either that or is there intent or not. So go ahead and check that out.
form opinions. I think it's easy to disregard a lot of
Agreed.
factors. And I think in reference to what I stated earlier, it's easy to forget the other side of the coin. There's been a lot of suffering involved in this incident. A lot. Obviously, with the families, with the community, and even the alleged defendants' family as well. There's been a lot of suffering. A lot of misunderstanding. And
Thank you. Be kind. This is what it's about.
I just want you to keep in mind everything that will be presented in its totality. Keep in mind. The power that you have.
I really think those are real tears. I'm just going to say, I think they're real tears, but I do think he's sad about like what's happening to himself and that he's in this position and that, you know, what's coming. But I think those are real tears.
I believe that should escape your knowledge. This has been a long process for everybody. And what I believe is when it's time for you to make your decision, all of you, I pray that it's the right decision. That all the factors are weighed. There's been a lot of words thrown out there about the alleged. A lot of speculation, a lot of ridicule. Words like demon. Words like monster. I know a lot of the time I've been before you see me with this mask on. Yeah, I've had my reasons for that. But I feel now is the time to, it's important that you see me for who I am.
So that was weird to me. So I took this mask off. I've had it on for reasons. So it seems like, I mean, I don't, maybe he's referencing his COVID stuff at the beginning of the week, but it doesn't seem like it was for health reasons. It almost, to me, seems like it was for identification reasons. So it may be harder for people to identify him or what, but now he's taking it off. Seems planned, seems rehearsed to me if I was on the jury. What do you guys think? Kind of just a strange little thing he said there about the mask.
No mask for who I am.
Yeah, it's part of it.
I think this is the moment for that.
Feels like this could be true, Adrian. Feels like that could be true.
I pray that your eyes and ears remain as open as possible. And understand that you alone decide this case, this matter. The power is in your hands, all of you. To determine for yourselves what truth is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So he takes a second here, and we're going to put on mute for a second as they take a little break. And I want to point out a couple of these comments. Thank you, Gerald. Bellhouse. His behavior to the court up to this point makes it impossible to take seriously his words and behavior in his opening statements. Annie Lee, right after him. He goes through this emotional opening and then thinks it erases his conduct with the victims and the judge, shows he only feels for himself. This is the point, right? This is what makes it so hard is we have context. It's not just like we've never met this guy before, never heard him before. If he was a criminal defendant sitting at that table with his lawyer representing him and he takes the stand and says something like this, maybe we would feel more bad for him. And Tina said, I can't feel 100% bad for him due to his actions. It's accountability time. I agree. That's the point of the trial, right? That is the point of the trial. This is the time to be held accountable. You could have already apologized. You could have pled. Somebody said he should have just pled not guilty by reason of insanity because they think that would have been true. Right. You could. There's a situation where you can admit that what you did was wrong, but you didn't understand what you were doing at the time, which to me would have made a lot more sense. Personally.
Regard, Attorney Opper, if you could perhaps just confer with him over which witnesses.
And they're working together to help him all they can. That's the truth. And sure, I'm sure there's some manipulation tactics to this. Sure. He is sad. Yep. Absolutely. And a lot of you are picking up kind of the same things that I was thinking. AJ, subbed recently. Love your thoughts. I do think it was intentional. He was in a sustained state of rage, and I think he showed some of that during the trial at the judge. He was angry he couldn't hurt Erica, so anyone would do. That's interesting, transferred intent. Although I haven't heard them argue much of that. That's a really interesting thought, AJ, so thank you for sharing it. We've crossed 7,000. Look at that, 7,000 people in the chat. Hit that like button if you haven't, and sub like AJ. AJ, you enjoying the channel? You enjoying the discussion? Let the people know. Hit that subscribe button so we can hang out more. MVD, 100% on the mask. It was a choice and rehearsal of that choice and deciding between when he wants and doesn't want to be the defendant. That is what it feels like. A. O'Connor, I missed a lot today. Did we ever figure out if he was fleeing another incident? I mean, it seems like the facts are he got into an argument and potentially a physical altercation with his ex-girlfriend and her friend, and then he left there. But I don't feel like those dots have been sufficiently connected. We can't get inside his head, right? We can't tell he was mad and was rage monstering out there, and that's why he left, if he was trying to find her or whatever. But he did go from that event to driving through the parade. I think we've at least gotten that far. Heather Lopez, I know they are treading lightly on prior bad acts, but do they have to keep helping him when he continues to open the door? Yeah, it's just not worth it. You really don't want to step on his rights if you really don't have to. That's the real issue to me that they're really trying to protect. Do you expect Brooks to lose it after the verdict? A bunch of people are asking this. I don't know. We'll have to see. I could see it going either way, like him acting like it was fixed. Shanley Painter was in the courtroom during the opening statement, and she said the jury didn't care about the tears on her Twitter. And this is good information because that's pretty much what I expected, and how most of you are feeling about the tears is that you either think they're fake or you don't care. It's not going to change your mind. Tori, she's trying to convince me of intent. I feel it, like we're 12 angry men. Peter, referencing the jury movie. I don't know how he proves or disproves what he intends or didn't intend if he doesn't take the stand. Seems like if he wants both sides to be told, he has to testify thoughts. I do think he's either going to testify on the stand or in closing argument. And it's not his burden to prove intent, but it's the state's. So if he can just prove they didn't prove intent, that would be enough potentially. Richard Byer, thank you for this. FYI, Wisconsin jury instructions for first-degree intentional homicide do appear to reference the lesser included offenses. Thank you so much for this, Rich. You guys are the best finding this stuff. Jonathan Drennan, I think you made a great point on Nick's stream. Yes, I was on Nick Recada's stream today, my first time ever on Rumble, and I got to tell you, woo, is the chat wild on Nick Recada's Rumble and Locals channel. Never been on either of those before, and it was pretty wild. He's been present for the state's case. His rights are protected. The judge can be more strict now. Yeah, I was saying, like, listen, we had to tiptoe around it, not kick him to the other courtroom because of the confrontation clause. We wanted to be able to confront witnesses and accusers. But now he's done all that. He's been through that part of the trial. So if he acts up, let's put him in the other courtroom and let's mute him if we have to. That's just facts. Do you think Brooks will lose it and attack the judge after the hearing and the verdict? I have a feeling something will go wrong. The bailiffs are always on high alert. They're always ready for that. So you don't have to worry about that. Tina Crichton, you are fire, Peter. Love it. Thank you, Tina. Appreciate that. Carla Miller, I have to leave, but I want to know if you knew why he was smiling after the first witness. It was very strange. We're going to talk about that later. It was very, very strange. No insanity because he got evaluated like 4 times. Different between competence and insanity. I think he actually started pleading not guilty by reason of insanity, then withdrew that defense. So there is a difference there. Did you see his smile after finishing Kirby? Yes, we are going to get to that, and we actually are going to get to that post testimony interview with Kirby. Bad Cat, Mad Cat, removing the mask at this point was to take full advantage of the theatrics while he cries for himself. I agree. He keeps separating himself from the murderers, this incident, the facts of this case. That's a good point. That's a good point. Whether he keeps talking or arguing or crying, it's all about him and his show. There are no winners. At least there will be some justice.
I'm just going to go with, I'm just going to work off the list of the people who's here.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. You know who
You're right.
First.
That
We'll
is
have
weird.
Person ready?
Here we go.
Okay.
Who's his first witness,
You
guys?
wanna let us know so that the
Who does everybody think his first witness is going to be? Who do we think? First, he tries some gamesmanship, saying different names, none of which he calls today. But who do you think his first witness is going to be? We called this, by the way. We talked about this before, that we knew he was going to try to call this witness.
they can assist with that. Otherwise, you can just call when we're in front of
Interesting,
the jury. So
Stephanie.
have the jury brought out, please.
Some of them are downstairs and some of them are out here. So it's fine. It just will take a few minutes if they're over in the main courthouse.
Okay. Why don't you tell the state the first witness to make sure they're right outside the courtroom, sir?
Most likely Bertrand.
Okay.
Most likely. Most likely.
Do you want to give us 2 names and we'll have 2 people
Most
out there?
likely.
I just
Most
want to make it
likely.
smoothly, sir. That's all.
Most likely not.
Since I'm working off this list, I wasn't expecting that to be first.
Who do you want to call first? And we'll see if they're here.
Well, sorry.
That's okay.
Apparently, this list is who's here. I'm guessing.
That's my understanding as well. Not yet.
Well, Brad, he thinks he can call the state of Wisconsin as his first witness. So I don't really think we can get in his head, right, about what he's thinking with his witness
Is
list.
there someone you expected to be on the list that is not?
Yeah, the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Kinda.
Do you want to make a record of that? Do you want me to address it in any way?
No, not right now.
All right, well, then I'm going to instruct the jury to come out, and then you can call your first witness.
Oh, Debbie, yeah, you were asking this earlier. I guess you're talking about a judgment of acquittal, a JOA that every defense lawyer makes between, I guess he did waive that because he didn't make that argument. Not a big deal, though, in my opinion. Shauna, I don't think the judge is going to hold him in contempt at the end, but put him in jail to put him in jail. Carrie, it's funny how perspectives change as more information enters our mind, right? Very interesting. Whoa, Firefly today got put in timeout on the Law and Crime chat because I said to head over here for a great recap. Then they called me out in the chat. Enter my attitude. I will never again promote Law and Crime as I have upwards 100 times over the years. Wow, that's annoying. I wonder why they do that. I don't even do it at the same time as them. It's so weird, but I don't know, man. I do not understand YouTube. I do not understand this competition. I literally just try to do this to enjoy the conversation, learn from each other, especially when miserable things happen in a broken world. We feel for the victims. We feel for the families. We are so sorry that these things happen. And we try to understand what justice looks like. And one of the other things I think is important for the victims, for their families, for the people in the community that we talk about a lot when discussing this trial is justice in light of maybe a not guilty verdict or a not guilty of the most serious offense, right? So if they have been watching this recap, they understand there is a chance that he is not guilty of first-degree homicide. But they will also understand now, I hope, and take at least maybe some, it's not really comfort, but understanding in if he gets convicted of a lesser included plus all the other 60 plus crimes, he's still going to prison for the rest of his life. So whether it's intentional homicide or not, the penalty is just as severe and is the same. And it's things like that that I think is important to understand about the system, that there's no other way you'd understand it unless somebody explained it to you or you looked it up and read it for yourself. So those are the kinds of things that I do think can be beneficial from this type of discussion that I don't think Law and Crime provides. They do provide a service. They play the trial for you to watch, which I think is great. And a lot of channels do that. But I do think digging in a little bit more and discussing it and trying to understand the process of justice is important too. So I appreciate you, Firefly. Don't feel like you have to do that for me. If you want to watch on Law and Crime and not be putting time out, nobody out there feel like you got to say, come watch Lawyer, at the end. Don't ever feel like you need to do anything to put yourself out there for me. I appreciate you being here, commenting, asking questions, joining the conversation. That's what makes it so fun. That's what makes this the best. And as a sign of appreciation, we're already over an hour and I'm not really even that close to being done. So we're going to ride a little long tonight to get through as much as we can, especially since we're going to take tomorrow night off, but have a Saturday special. So thank you, Firefly. Let's get to this first witness.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Or you may call your first witness. Actually, your second witness.
The defense would like to call the plaintiff, state of Wisconsin, to the stand.
Object. The objection is noted. It is sustained. Call your next witness, please.
Reason for the sustain?
They all knew that was coming. They all knew that was coming. Object. Okay. Sustained. Why do you sustain? And that was his attempt at calling the state as his first witness. All right. Let's get to some more questions here. All right. Billy G, it's hilarious that he's working on a counteroffer. And Chris Online also said at 40:45, he said he did not have knowledge of the pretrial offer. He's putting together a counteroffer. How is that handled by the court? And at what point is the trial? Is he no longer allowed to accept the plea deal? My guess is just about any point, the state's going to accept a plea deal where he takes 6 life sentences and pleads to intentional homicide. I don't think that's happening. If he does come up with some kind of counteroffer, my guess is it's not going to include jail time or something. And I would be very surprised if it was anything that they actually came to an agreement on. All right, let's see what else we got. What can DB use to obtain legal advice, Stephanie asked, while in jail? He has, even if by accident, almost got a couple of the arguments. However, he fell short because he didn't know how to ask the questions. He can there are certain legal books you can use. He's got some notes from his public defender. He's probably talked to his public defender before. There are some jailhouse lawyers, either lawyers that are actually in jail or people that want to help him, that know something about it or that studied while in prison. So there are some things that he can get into. Cassandra, Peter, are you going to do a react to the video of his mom's interviews? Yes, but I'm going to save that for after trial. MVD, I do think there are, some psychological defense mechanisms that don't comport when he needs to make his case versus when the case is made against him. I agree. Billy G, no defense there. Feels like he's admitting defeat. I agree. Billy G comes in with some swings, some quick shots. Steve Masticola, Brooks blows it right after the statement with the sob sit BS. Amanda H, I think his behavior in this trial shows what evil is in him and how easy it'll be for another situation to cause him to lash out and hurt more people. He only cries for himself and what he's losing, sadly. And that is one of the things, like, we're going to talk about this next witness, Mr. Kirby, and watch a little bit of what he says. And this is not a guy you want to throw back out there on the street. That's for sure. That's for sure. So he ends up calling Nicholas Kirby, tries to start out like a lawyer and sounding like a lawyer, but this guy is not having it. It's one of his ex-girlfriend's friends, and he talks about the whole time trying to protect his 2 female friends, and it just blows up in Darrell Brooks's face and does not go well for him at all. But we're going to jump to some of the more interesting parts here, 543, and watch some of them together. We've got a couple more clips we're going to watch, so settle in, everybody.
Walking with Corey around Waukesha. Earlier, well, yeah.
And make reference to walking with Corey. Who's Corey?
Corey is a friend of Miss Patterson's.
And would it be fair to say that it's also a friend of yours?
Mutual friend, yes.
In reference to Corey?
Yes.
And what were you doing?
Walking around Waukesha, she was waiting for Miss Patterson to get done meeting with Mr. Brooks. You,
At 3 o'clock?
around 3 o'clock. It's around that time. I had advised her not to go meet with Mr. Brooks.
You made reference to Mr. Brooks. Who's that?
That would be you,
And why would you say it would be you? That's you.
because that's your name.
And you were privy to that information at the time?
I was privy to the information about you about a week prior to this incident.
About a week prior. And during your walking around,
Could
where
be
were you
true,
going?
Bruno. Could be true.
Walking, like literally walking. We went from one store to walking around downtown after Erica told us she was going to be going to meet with Mr. Brooks. That would be you. I had advised her not to do it because it was a bad idea, and I was in fear for her safety.
So I'm going to pause this real quick because the poll results are in, and 84% say they do not buy the tiers, and only 16% buy the tiers. Now, better definitions are probably could have been used, but
You made reference to going from one store to another. What stores are you referencing?
Dollar General and Speedway.
Did you go anywhere else?
No,
Did you ever go to a park?
no.
You made reference to knowing about Brooks a week prior to these events, you said?
I didn't know everything about him. Ms. Patterson had showed me his rap sheet, if you will, and a picture of
yikes. Miss Patterson showed you his rap sheet, if you will. Anybody know what that's slang for or what rap sheet means? Because if the jury does, uh-oh. And obviously, the judge and the state know where this could go.
picture of him, and that was about it. I had heard prior.
I mean, if I'm going to stop the witness unless you wanted to go there, not to discuss what may or may not be conduct of Mr. Brooks prior to November 21 of 2021. With that understanding, go ahead and ask the next question.
You made reference to a picture you were shown?
Just a photograph with a rap sheet behind it.
So they talk a lot about that rap sheet, and to me, that's not great for Mr. Brooks once again. And this is his own witness who does nothing but say, you were trying to fight women and I was trying to protect them. Now, some people said maybe he poked some holes in the timeline. I don't think this witness landed anything for Darrell Brooks. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you think this witness hit something hard for him, let me know in the chat. Martha, if you're asking who I think will question Darrell Brooks, my guess is it would be the DA. Kathy in Virginia, Peter, you're a natural teacher. I always learn something from your live streams. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're here, and I learn something from you guys all the time. Mammy Yoakum, I don't think so. I don't think he's getting any pro. I think he's going to go away forever. All right, next clip is at 6:40. So this was also interesting. So one of the arguments I didn't really understand, and I kind of, when people ask me what was Darrell Brooks's argument, how could he say he was running, whatever. Well, to me, when we heard about a guy might have a knife, right? I could understand fleeing a guy with a knife who's coming after you. And that was kind of a gray area to me that I don't think the state fleshed out enough. Well, thankfully, Darrell Brooks decides to call this witness to clear it all up for us and for us to now understand what the discussion was about a guy with a knife that Darrell Brooks may or may not have been running from.
Let me back up. Would it be fair to say that you just made reference to trouble following you throwing off your jacket?
No.
Oh, yeah,
No.
that's when he was like, I threw off my jacket and you better be ready, because when I throw off my jacket, that was kind of what that was.
Trouble following me.
Well, maybe that's the wrong way to put it, but
I'm
there would be
confused by your
trouble.
question.
Excuse me?
Can you rephrase your question?
Oh, I'm sorry about that. You made reference to there being trouble when your jacket comes off. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that that would be, or that could be, perceived as an aggressive gesture?
You mean as an
Calls for speculation. How it's perceived calls for speculation.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
If you recall, who gave the report that there was a knife involved?
That was not put into a report. That was a miscommunication between me and an officer. I had been knifed earlier that week and had 12 stitches in one hand. I said, now I have a friend being assaulted and I need backup here.
And there's our answer. There is our answer. There was a misunderstanding. He had been knifed before. He told the officer about that, but nobody was running around with the knife. Not Darrell, not him, not Erica, nobody.
So when the police stopped and asked if there was a knife, I said, no, there was never any knife. I didn't have a knife. Ms. Patterson, Ms. Story didn't have a knife. You didn't have a knife.
Did you get a chance to see the report that was taken by law enforcement from you?
Well, I'm the one. You mean you're talking about when I was on White Rock going to Ms. Patterson?
No. The day of November 2020. The day of November 20.
Jessica, this is actually, clients like to do this. They want to put people on stand and just want us to argue with them all the time. We're like, we can't do that. So when they get the opportunity to do that on their own, and it's like you in your head, like we have clients say, that's a lie. That person's lying. And we're like, we can't prove it. We've got to go this way or that way or poke holes or just show where it might not make sense and bring another witness to impeach them. But sometimes you get up there and Darrell Brooks thinks he's going to like convince this guy that he's either lying or to say something that this guy's not going to stay on the stand. This is a real thought that clients have.
November 22nd, 2021. You made reference already to being interviewed by a detective, correct?
Yes.
And had you, after that, seen that report from that day?
No.
Agreed. Exactly, Taylor. Says everything you need to know about this witness and how the state felt about this witness.
And you stated that the reporting of the knife was a miscommunication?
Yeah, let's confirm that. Let's confirm that for the jury in case they didn't catch
Did you
it.
at any time tell law enforcement that there was a knife involved in the altercation?
No.
Do you know if your friend Corey told law enforcement that there was a knife involved in the altercation?
No, she did not.
Do you know if your friend Ms. Patterson told any law enforcement that there was a knife involved in the altercation?
She did not as well. No.
Let's jump ahead just a little bit here.
I wasn't attending the parade. I was in the area that the parade route was in. My street is the parade route.
Did you see anyone injured that day?
When
During the parade?
Yes, after I walked back through that area,
You saw someone get injured?
I saw a red SUV take off like a bat out of hell down Main Street
Did
and
you
go
see?
through a crowd of people.
The question was, did you see?
Let's remember, this is Darrell Brooks's witness. He decided to call. The jury knows this is bad for him. This is not going well for him.
see this take place?
With my own freaking eyes. Yes. How many times do I have to say yes for you to understand it? YES spells yes.
Did you see it with your own eyes? Again, Darrell Brooks thinks that the answer is no to this. He believes with everything in his being that the answer is no to this. Mr. Kirby's like, YES. Yes. How many times do I have to say yes?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I don't know.
Are you moving to strike the last response?
Darrell Brooks is like, I'm sorry, Your Honor, somebody's being disrespectful and annoying to me. I wonder what the DA's face looks like right now. I bet she's like, yeah, how does it feel? How does it feel?
The jury will disregard the last response.
I like how the
Remind
judge
both of
didn't
you, please answer the questions
step
that are
in.
asked. Follow what needs to take place. Either Mr. Brooks or the state will ask.
Is it fair to, well, in reference to the
Evie said, in my opinion, his strategy is that he was fleeing the other scene, entered the parade route, the streets were blocked, so not his fault. I agree. The unintentional part. I agree.
Exhibit 3.
That's one of his
that we
arguments.
just
It's
viewed.
not working though.
You're talking about the one by the elementary school.
Yeah, the one,
Okay.
the one that we just viewed,
Just check.
which would be Exhibit 3. Is it fair to say from that vehicle,
Video.
I'm sorry, from that video, is it fair to say from that video that, in fact, there are not 3 people throwing punches? That'd be fair to say?
There are 3 people throwing hands in that video, Erica, Corey, and Mr. Brooks. Not myself. If you watch the video, you will see 3 pairs of hands go up towards one another.
And again, this is another statement you don't need to nitpick and argue with him about. You don't. It just continues to backfire on him. Somebody said jump to 8:19:30. I couldn't believe he said this. Let's see what it says at 8:19.
We'll have everyone else here on
That's
this.
interesting because what if that was not who I was referring to?
Then you need to tell me right now so I
Oh,
can
yeah.
situation to that.
Come on, Judge.
All right, hold on. Let's go. Let's get back a little bit because I did want to talk about this. I didn't realize this was all the same thing. He's getting very comfortable in the courtroom, being a lawyer, one of the people. And Paula Graham, I wanted to bring this up. I saved this comment. You mentioned it very early on. One of your favorite parts is when he said it wasn't his fault when the trial was running behind schedule. Oh my gosh. So after that witness, they talk. There was a female witness. I kind of zoned out. I don't even know why he called her there. I don't think she did anything for him. But they start talking about scheduling and how they're behind. And he's like, well, I know nobody's going to say it was my fault we were behind. It's like all of us are going to say it's your fault we're behind, Darrell. All of us. Every one of us thinks that you're the reason that we are behind. And then he thinks he's coy again with like who he's going to call for his witnesses and when he may save them. And the judge really wants to finish all of these witnesses. And Daniel said, the judge is intent on finishing his witness tomorrow. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't. And there were some issues about when they're going to have them show up. Are they going to have them show up early, late, all at the same time? And he is going to do everything he can to delay this till Monday. Even if they were to finish his witnesses, I think they would close on Monday. But what I think is going to happen is they're not going to finish his witnesses on Friday. They will end up bringing at least one witness back on Monday, and then they will also close on Monday. So I think we will get closing arguments on Monday, and we'll see. Maybe the jury will come back Monday. If not, Tuesday at the latest would be my guess. We're going to have a verdict in this case. We just hit 8,000 people watching. That's awesome. You guys are awesome. This is the biggest night we've had so far, and that's always very fun. Somebody said here, gosh, there's so many comments. Catherine. So yeah, so let's listen to what he talks about, how he thinks there may be one witness that may be a little longer than the other witnesses. I wonder which witness that might be.
The flow of the morning, I would guess. If the morning goes pretty
Can you tell me which list they were on when you gave it to the state? Was it Thursday afternoon, Friday morning, or Friday afternoon?
I didn't put them on days, but I believe they were in the maybe the second floor names. If
Do you just
that
want to tell me who it
helps.
is so we can prepare so that person is told to come in the afternoon rather than wait through the morning?
I don't want to say who it is.
I agree, John.
Well, I want the person to be here when we're ready to go, but
They were here today, if that helps.
Yeah, I know who it is. It's Erica Patterson, Your Honor. There's no
Maybe.
mystery here.
Maybe
all
it
right,
is,
that's
maybe
what I
it
would
isn't.
have.
He's literally like laughing sarcastically about calling his ex-girlfriend who he punched allegedly the night that he allegedly killed 6 people with his car and ran over 60 more. And he's like laughing at like, Judge, you want to take a guess? Let me give you some hints. She was here today. She's going to take longer than an hour. She's on my witness list. Maybe, maybe not. It's like, dude, come on. And like what a lot of people were commenting during his opening, this is why it's hard to take it seriously, his remorse and that he was being serious in the opening. Really tough. Epiphany Tanya, great coverage. I'm following you and Natalie, the lawyer chick. Curious, do you know what percentage of prostate defendants actually win their cases? I would guess it is less than 0.01%. Very, very rare. In our courthouses and our criminal courthouse down here, I can only think of one that I've seen win in 10 years. So very, very rare. Is there a better example of stepping on rakes legally? Thank you for this channel. I'm not sure what stepping on rakes you meant. It's probably an autocorrect would be my guess. We are going to watch the post-trial interview of Mr. Kirby. That's the last thing we have to watch together. Before we get to that, I'm going to try to run through some of these questions here. MVD again. I know you mentioned not liking the judge to have any appearance of being on the state side. Is it hard to not seem that way procedurally at a certain point? It shouldn't be hard. It really shouldn't, MVD, but sometimes it is just because of how it all works out. Doug D, can they go into the DV with Kirby's answer and DB asking him about it on direct? And if so, can they wait for Erica to take the stand? So no, they're not going to, I don't think anything's opened the door at this point. But I do think that it could potentially get opened with Erica. Nayland, none of the witnesses want to be there for DB. Can say that they are there against their will. I would be afraid of the backlash of being there. Does anybody think that they're not making it obvious they don't want to be there? I think everybody knows they don't want to be there. Erica said the knife was brought up to get the police there faster, so that was different from his testimony. Interesting. So they lied reporting it to the police to try to get them to show up faster to the domestic. That's interesting. But again, maybe Erica's going to say that. And then at that point, then maybe he's going to impeach Kirby, but he's calling all these witnesses. And again, does it prove that he didn't drive the car through the parade? Or maybe he's just trying to disprove intent. Patty Joe, it is my opinion that repeating would it be fair to say when introducing the question implies that the witness, they should reply with their opinion. Wouldn't this be speculation, thoughts? It could be sometimes, but it's usually a more appropriate way to do cross-examination than it is a direct. Laughing was due to Kirby making a racial slur. Okay, I did not hear that. I must have missed that. Steph Morris loved this witness. Well, we're going to get more from him. Jeff Height, he is loving this power, just like he did questioning his interrogation officer. I agree. He loves being able to force people to show up with subpoenas and ask him questions for as long as he wants to and tell the judge, are you asking me? Are you asking me? Because if you're asking me, I'll do it. If you're telling me, oh, then we're going to have problems. He does like that power. DB cries better than Amber Heard. Well, it's a pretty low bar. Even her acting coach said it. Kaya Wolf, thank you. Yeah, Gabrielle, if you get a chance, watch the end of the day argument. He's enjoying controlling Erica's schedule and planning and keep her long. Abusive POS. Yeah, if I was the judge, I would say, nope. Your abused ex is going to be able to come tomorrow afternoon. You can't call her till tomorrow afternoon. Sorry. That's what I would do. You can't do stuff like this. The law does not allow. Now, listen, it allows him to call his witnesses when he wants, but he can't abuse his power like that. I keep waiting for Will Smith to slap Brooks. Oh my gosh. That is hilarious. Epiphany Tanya. Could motive be he assaults Erica, knows the cops are called, goes on the run, driving, sees cops, runs into the crowd. Would that be fair to say? Yeah, that could be motive of him fleeing, but I don't think it's motive and intent to kill the people that he ended up killing. If he would have run over Erica, I think we can see a motive, but I don't understand. I don't think he wanted or intended to kill the kids and hit the kids and people that he hit. I really don't. I'm open to disagreement, though, as always on this channel. Esme, when the DA doesn't have any questions for this witness, I love how Brooks smiles as if he thinks it's a good thing. Yeah, I mean, if you never tried a case, you might think, haha, it was so good they didn't have anything to even follow up on. Mr. Roboto, a great restaurant in Tallahassee I used to frequent in college and law school. Peter, do you realize that you're giving lawyers a good name? Oh, no. I'm hoping, man. I really hope to. Tish in Tennessee, you can tell this witness would like to knock his block off. I mean, he pretty much said it. You were lucky there were people in between. Patty Joe, continued from my last super chat. I think the more accurate intro phrase to the question should be, would it be accurate to say? I got to be honest, a lot of lawyers say, would it be fair to say? So it is a crutch a lot of people use. And it's kind of just everyday language. Kelly, it seemed like he was allowed to ask mostly leading questions. Am I misunderstanding? No, the judge actually did allow him to ask leading questions on direct, which I noticed as well, but it's not worth fighting over. And the DA did not object. So they let him get away with it, which is understandable. Don't ask questions you're not sure of the answer. Lawyer 101. Psh, dude, that's a great point, Mo. Miss Rihanna, hi from Australia. First time I've been able to join a live. Been following your channel for a while. Love your work, Peter. I used to work in IT for a law firm here. That's awesome. Thank you for joining. I'm glad you were able to. Kaya Wolf, surprised they didn't cross about the rap sheet. you don't want to overstep. You don't want to create potential issues for mistrial. He asked, the witness was answering his question. The rap sheet is out there. If they want to talk about it in closing, they can. I really would not push it. Azam, Peter, your subs are increasing 1K a day. If this continues to reach 150K in 3 days, congrats in advance. Thank you, Azam. Would it be cool if we reached 150K right like at the end of this trial, maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday? Tell your friends to subscribe and we'll celebrate together. Yes, T-Bird. 8K. Wild to think. Yes, John, hit that like button and let's pull up the interview a lot of you asked to see. Mr. Kirby left and was ready to talk more about this case.
First of all, what was it like just being called to testify for Brooks's defense?
Honestly, trying to hold back a lot of rage. Took a lot not to want to jump over the table.
Is there any doubt in your mind that he's guilty?
He's absolutely 100% guilty, but this delay process that he's trying to do and pick apart scenes bit by bit and fraction by fraction is not going to help him whatsoever.
What do you think? I mean, just based on the questions that he asked you today, what do you think his defense is? It's very unclear at this point.
His defense isn't unclear to me. His defense is delay and confused. That's all he's doing. He's trying to use what was first said to me right after a traumatic event happened to where at that point, which all my thoughts were jumbled when I was giving my statements to the detectives. You know, I still had a lot of stuff going through my head at that point in time when I was talking to those detectives. And I think he tried to take advantage of that and realized that he couldn't.
When you encountered him by the SUV with Erica and Corey, what was going through your mind then? Was it a scary situation just for you being in his presence?
No, it wasn't scary for me being in his presence. I've faced guys like him before in my life. I was more worried about Erica. I was more worried about Corey. I never for a second thought that this man would drive down a parade route. All I told him was, you need to leave. The police have been called. You need to get out of here. And like I told Court TV,
yes,
and like I will tell everyone till the day I die, to everyone who is suffering from this, I feel like this is my fault. Because I told him he needed to leave. I feel like he may have panicked in that moment when it was a very scary moment for him. And when he heard the sirens, he knew law enforcement was coming and he took a wrong direction. But if he ultimately did make that decision to take human life, then that's on him. The regret that I have is that I didn't do something more. I would have put my life in danger and had my life taken in order to save every single one of those people. And that's something I can't do anymore because now he's locked up.
When you said you live downtown, right? So, I mean, this was impactful to you just as a resident of Waukesha.
Yes, it was.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
So yeah, he told us everything he thought. He wanted to come over the table. It was rage. He even felt a little guilt himself because he's the one that told him to get away to try to help Erica. Pussycat. Peter, my previous SC was asking, Super Chat was asking if you think the jury noticed he didn't bother to stand up as they left after his opening pity party. I don't know if he's doing so many wild things that I think standing up and sitting down is probably the least thing on the jury's mind at this point. Can Darrell hire a real lawyer at this point, or is it too late? Squad CS. I think the judge has said no, but I think if he asked for a lawyer to help him, the judge would let him. Mermaid Lagoon. Intent was proven with the red beard police officer. He said DB leaned out the car and swerved hard into the crowd instead of going straight ahead through the barricades. I think you have to make some inferences to get there. If you want to, that's your prerogative as a juror. And if you wanted to vote for intentional homicide, I think there's enough there for you to. I think there's reasonable doubt as to intent because they have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt for every element, including intent. Not, okay, we know that he was the one that caused their death. So intent, good enough. It's got to be beyond a reasonable doubt for intent. So in my mind, I don't think they've gotten there yet. Tish in Tennessee, I second the earlier comment. It is disheartening to hear others covering to put down witnesses over looks, weight, intelligence, supposed orientation, gender, etc. Thank you for being a gentleman and respectful. You will not hear that on this channel. Listen, every YouTuber and every person, making videos, commenting on videos, they have their own vibe. They make their own decisions. They do their own thing. We are all independent. There's no groups, at least that I'm a part of. I'll just say I think a lot of them have some good things to bring to the table, and I like differing opinions and different styles. So, two people I may have on a stream or go on their stream might not get along with each other, but I may be able to get along with both of them. I'm cool with everybody, and everybody's cool with me. I'm just a lawyer talking about legal stuff, right? I'm not a comedian. I'm not funny. I don't try to really be. Some stuff comes out that might be like that, but I appreciate this, Tish, and that's pretty much how it'll roll the whole time. Cynthia, why was he so big on having 13 witnesses? The other day, he was upset that one might be available. He started going on and on about needing 13. I don't think the number had any significance. I think there were 13 people that he actually wants to call in the trial, and if one of them can't show up, then he's going to be upset that they can't show up. MVD, what's the biggest appellate risk right now? I think everything's been pretty much held in the way that it needs to be held to protect this thing from appeal. The only thing I could say is if they felt like the state was able to do too many things, really, I would say potentially the rap video was the biggest appellate risk, because I don't think the state planned on playing that, but because he opened the door, they ended up playing it, and I think it was damning to Brooks. So that's really the only thing that really pops out or sticks out in my mind right now. Jay Carr, driving into the parade was unintentional. Hitting the first person, accident. Steering into the rest was intentional. He blew off barricades and cops. Dancing grannies were doomed. No mercy, Jay Carr. And I get it. I get kind of where you're coming from with that. And again, I think differing people in the jury room could feel differently about that. And therefore, we'll see how the verdict ends up coming down. I think if there are really people that are holding strong against intent, they'll compromise with an unintentional homicide. Patty Joe, stepping on a rake statement from MVO, meaning an obvious misstep to have a blow to the face. Visualize Fred Flintstone. Okay. Also, I think DB's tears genuine because he feels sorry for himself. Okay. All right. Sorry, I missed the analogy. It may seem easy, but it's difficult to try to run through all these questions and get as many good, solid, real answers as I can get out there. And I have to go here. So we've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to get as many as I can. KWNY Upstate, could he guarantee a mistrial by yelling he has murder contracts on all the jury members so they can no longer be impartial? I think the judge would mute him, throw him in the other courtroom, tell the jury to disregard it. You can't force your own mistrial most of the time. Nicole Hayes, why does he keep calling basically victims? And why did he say someone testimony might change? Do you think Erica is going to lie on the stand for him? Absolutely not. She already had her opportunity to do that. I have no clue why he's calling victims. Paulette Poirier, with the judge letting him act disrespectful, will this just open the door to other defendants to be disrespectful in all courts? I really hope not. And I think if this happened again to this judge, she would act differently, I think. If she thought somebody was learning from him, I think she'd shut it down much quicker. ADV, I'm watching this at night from the Netherlands. It's really hurting my head. It's so much different from our laws. Every country is very different. Jamie, he spent 45 minutes on Erica on cross. What more can he ask her? I know. And I think the judge will limit it to only what he didn't already ask. Cynthia, I have a feeling his questions for Erica are going to be horrible. It is his last chance to mentally abuse her. I really hope and think the judge will shut that down. Tori, Peter in this channel is like Switzerland. Haha, grace over vengeance and anger. Ain't that the truth? Grace is what I want, and grace is what I want to give. Not what we deserve, right? But it's what we want, at least what I want. Jessica Hunn, we saw 3 different people in one day, combative the whole time before the DA arrested, remorseful during opening, now lighthearted and soft-spoken. Now that, it's his turn. That is a great point. I didn't even think about that. It was like 3 distinct personalities. RRSTT, could he claim the first person he hit was an accident and then blacked out, froze up, and the gunshots brought him back to reality? He could try to argue that. He'd have to take the stand to explain that. P.S. This super chat is because we are fellow Floridians. Epiphany Tanya, you're in Clearwater. My husband and I live in Wesley Chapel and visit Clearwater Beach all the time. That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, maybe we'll run into each other. I've literally never run into anybody that's ever been like, oh, hey, I've seen you on YouTube, besides people I already knew, which is always, maybe we will run into each other and be like, hey, what's up, Peter? That would be cool. And if you ever need a lawyer, I'm right here. You know, I'm in your jurisdiction. I have people calling me from all over, and sometimes I can't help depending on where they're at. You'll never have that problem, but I hope you never need me, because nobody really ever calls me when good things happen. It's when they get hurt or something bad happens to them. C, as for intent, did he ever break? Again, I get that. I understand it. If people want to go there, I hear you. Little lady, 25-year prosecutor here. In my opinion, a snippet of the rap video showing his face was permissible. Entire video is improper. I wouldn't have played it personally. I wouldn't have played it. You don't need to. But I do think that the prosecutors are not considering this a guaranteed victory. That's why they're tense. They have to win this. If they lose, it would be embarrassing, and it would be so sad for all the victims and their family. It'd be so sad for the community. So even though I think it's a slam dunk, they cannot go into it like that. But I do think that that was a little aggressive. I agree with little lady here. Andrew Kallick, thank you for the super sticker here. Katie, show his disturbing smile after Kirby, please. I already X'd out of the video, but maybe we'll get it another night, or maybe we'll do an Instagram post or something with it. P Calendar, I live in St. Pete. That's awesome. Elizabeth Hayes, new member. That's awesome. All right. We got to call it now. Nobody else send in any super chats. No more questions. No more anything for tonight. Okay, let's call it now. Overtime, big time. A video and a half, basically. This was really, really interesting conversation between you all. I appreciate you all coming. I appreciate all the questions. I appreciate everyone's perspective, even when you disagree about intent and about, real or fake tears. That all adds a lot to the conversation. It adds a lot to the content. I firmly believe that's why so many people come and watch, is because of all of you as well. So I appreciate all of that. We're taking tomorrow off. Check out Rob from Law and Lumber, his Friday night video that he always does. And let him know if you came here from our channel. All right. Let him know you came here from The Lawyer You Know. And Poozy Cat here, 7.7K watching, only 2.8K likes. Hit that like button if you want, but we're on the way out. So hit it on the way out. Love to you all. Wish me luck tomorrow and Saturday, playing golf both days in a golf tournament. Got to play well. Got to represent for The Lawyer You Know. I'll be bringing my Lawyer You Know golf bag. If you haven't seen it, check out our community page. I had a custom golf logo put on my bag for The Lawyer You Know. I appreciate you all. I'll be in Orlando playing golf. If anybody's there, wish me luck. All right. That's it for tonight. You all are the best. I'll see you on Saturday. Find me on Instagram at Tragos Law, because I might do an Instagram live or something fun tomorrow from the hotel, just to give some short recaps of what happened. But great to hear from you all and see you all. I'm out of here.